Welcome to the Feist.
Everything you want to know about your favorite women's sports in one feisty hour.
With your feistiest friends.
I'm Kelly O'Mara.
And Sara Gross.
And today we are talking to Madison Fulford, a pro flag football player. And we're also going deep on whether the Olympics in LA should be canceled or not. I know. It's a hot topic. But first, Sara, is rain that turns to snow the worst possible weather to do sports in? Because I would say yes.
Rain that turns to snow?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm actually like legitimately trying to think of something
that's like worse
than that. Like, I think it potentially depends on what sport and how long you have to be out in it.
But this is like cycling in like 30-degree rain is obviously like the absolute worst, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yes, cycling is the worst because you have to move. And then obviously like there's a danger factor if the road starts to freeze or the trail starts to freeze.
Sure.
I guess the road moreover. And yeah, it's certainly the worst that I've been in. Like when you're wet and then everything's you're getting colder, but actually the weather is also getting colder.
That is so. What I saw. So this is always a debate. Generally, I feel like because people wanted to argue about how their weather is the worst weather. But this became a hot topic over the weekend because UTMB had like 30-something degree rain that turned to snow up at the peaks. And they start so that they have to go through the night. So that's one of those things where like you're getting soaking wet and cold. Mm-hmm. And then you have 15, 20 more hours in the dark.
Yes.
And you're just like, oh, I saw that. And I was watching video of it and I was like, oh my God, these like people are going to die.
Yeah. In the dark's a big factor. I've definitely been like, I've done training camps for long distance triathlon. So running, biking in like at altitude, like in the Swiss Alps, mm-hmm. In like similar situations to that, or in Canada, similar thing, altitude, where and the snow can come very suddenly.
Yeah.
Like you don't necessarily know that that's what's going to happen or that it's going to turn to snow until it actually is happening. So it's hard to prepare for.
I think so UTMB is in the Alps, right? As we talked about last week, it kind of goes through 4 mountain passes that are like 12,000 feet. Don't know what that is in meters. It has like 30,000 feet of elevation, right? So
it's like you just divide by 3-ish for meters.
Right, whatever.
Yeah.
Point is though, as we talked about last week, there's all these races, but then the big races are at the end of the week. And as we're getting closer to that, everyone knew that it was going to be bad weather. Like the runners are like checking their, pressing refresh on the weather. Mm-hmm. And then it became clear it was going to be so bad that the longer, like they didn't shorten the 55K or the 100K, but then the longer race, the 108-mile, 176K, they ended up having to shorten it by a couple, not like that long, couple kilometers, but they had to skip the highest pass because it was just like such bad snow.
The pass
like
was unpassable.
They were like, people are going to die, right?
Right.
And here's the thing, even with it being a little shorter, a little less elevation, times were still like almost an hour slower than last year,
Wow.
So it's like clearly it was just
okay.
brutal.
And was that a game time decision? So like the runners are out there. When did they find out that they weren't going up that final pass?
It definitely happened while the race was on because like UTMB put out like an announcement on their social and on their live. Like they do, we mentioned this last week, but they do really good live coverage actually, kind of impressively for like a trail race in the Alps.
Yeah.
And they have like data, like you can kind of like track, and they're talking at the same time. So they put it out. And it was on all their social. It is a very French race, so I forget how they phrased it, but it was one of those, it is not possible.
I mean, accurate.
Accurate.
It's accurate, yeah. Yes.
And partially I was watching a little bit because I had some friends doing like some of the shorter ones, and partially like, obviously, of course, we all wanted to see what would happen. And it became one of those like, who's managing the insanity the best? Mm-hmm. Like, so Ruth Croft ended up winning. Mm-hmm. And she became and I mean, a lot of people thought that she could win like beforehand, a lot of people were like, she's going to be the one to beat Courtney Dauwalter. Ruth has won the 50K and the 100K there in previous years. And she's now the first person to ever win all three. Yeah. She's the first New Zealander to ever win. So she definitely was capable. But there was this point where like, she stopped to put on like waterproof clothes at one of the aid stations. Mm-hmm. And then like Courtney and whoever was in second made a pass on her. And it was all like, oh, is this a deciding? But clearly, like, stopping to put on waterproof pants and, like, dry clothes paid off.
It was the deciding moment. We just didn't realize which direction it was going.
Right. So, and then of course, they're finishing 22 hours later in like lovely sun and huge crowds and no sign of anything. And you're just like, whew.
Yeah. I can remember when Alyssa Godesky, who was formerly our one of our podcast hosts at Feisty, did her FKT that I did some media for her. And there was one night, and there was no snow involved, but there was one night where there was a thunderstorm and like hard rain, and it was in the middle of the night, and we were waiting for her to come to the next checkpoint. And like that, just like having experienced that, just like even just it's very uncomfortable just standing there in the dark in a thunder and lightning storm waiting, let alone like actually running. And then actually there being in the Swiss Alps. Like, so I like, even not just for the athletes, but also for the supporters and like the crews of the athletes. Like, that's very nail biting.
Yes. I think there are definitely some people. So like Courtney finished significantly slower, that like she was 10th.
Right.
Heather Jackson, who like we both know, was top 20, but like significantly slower than I think she was hoping. Yeah. And I think there was a number of people who were like, well, my crew's been out here in the rain and snow all night. Like I have to get to them. Like six people flew to the Swiss Alps for me and have been standing out in the rain all night.
I need to do this thing.
I need to do this thing.
And also you have to get at least somewhere. You can't just be lost in the mountains.
That's true.
Yeah. And I also, we both know from experience that there are some people who do better with inclement weather, like on the hot side or the cold side, which often aren't the same people, right? Mm-hmm. So like there's the preparedness factor, which is always part of ultra running. I would think the longer it gets, the more prepared. But then also the just like the various factors that contribute to how well you handle cold.
One of my coaches, I do not do super great in really hot races, which is, I don't know, maybe it's on me. But one of my coaches one time before like 105 degree Ironman was like, well, smart athletes do well in bad conditions and you're very smart. And I was like, so then I tried to tell myself that. It ended up going terrible. So I don't know what that says about me. But I was like, smart athletes do well in bad conditions. And I was like, oh, because they like think more.
Yeah. Because they think more, because they're doing high level calculus while they're out
right.
there. Yeah, we know what your coach meant. Yeah,
but both the men's winner, who, fun fact, is the husband of a British Olympic triathlete. So Sophie's husband, who won, and Ruth, who won the women's race, were coached by the same person. So part of me was like, well, maybe he gave them like very good advice too.
Yes. It's stop putting the jacket on, Kelly. I think you called it. Also, like, okay, Courtney Dauwalter, who I think if you're like me, if you're kind of like outside the ultra running world, but you kind of like loosely pay attention, it sort of feels like Courtney Dauwalter has been very dominant the last few years. So do we think what happened to her? I mean, I saw a post on Instagram kind of saying she didn't have a day. So do you think it was the weather?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people thought she could be beat, like in trail running, thought she could be beat this year. Not because, like she's bad or anything, just like she hasn't had as dominant a last year since 2023. So I wouldn't venture to guess why, right? But like people thought she could be beat. And then I do think, like the weather, she was in the lead earlier. So I think the weather did get to her. She said like her legs just kind of gave out too. I think another thing like with all the rain and the snow at night was like, it's harder to find your footing. And a lot of people were kind of like falling and stuff. And so some people that just sort of like they ended up with a twisted ankle or like a bad fall. I'm not saying that happened to her, but I'm saying I could see how if you were just like really trying to manage that, it just starts to, but she did finish. And there was some video of her. I mean, it looked like one of those days that's a long, shitty, rough day. And she was just like bringing it in,
Totally. Well, in the end, that's what she looked like. Yeah. And what you said about finding footing, like it's one of those things that is like multi-factored, right? Like, yes, like the snow itself on the ground and the slipperiness but then also like the cold can affect your proprioception too. So your brain's not quite like functioning. You need more carbs in the cold and like whether or not someone can take on board those carbs. Like, so I can see how there would be a lot of falling.
Yeah, there was a lot of falling. In the shorter races where they're actually going like the 55K and the 100K, where they were going quite fast, which sounds ridiculous, but they were going quite fast.
Relatively fast, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of like slipping and sliding and falling. The woman who won the 55K, Joylene Chepnageno, she is the first Kenyan to win one of these
Oh.
UTMB World Finals, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And she's a very good like 30K, 40K, 50K. Like she does very well at the Golden Trail World Series. But then
Right.
she was out the next day in like her raincoat, cheering Courtney and like running alongside her for a little bit because I guess they're friends. So that was cool. And then in the 100K, the woman who won, Martina from Poland, full out sprint at the finish because she ended up winning by like 8 seconds.
Oh my
so it's
God.
like in the rain, coming down like technical stuff.
Oh my God.
Like full on. I was
After
like,
100K, they were neck and neck. That's wild.
yes. And so I was like because you like descend back into town and then you like run through town. And so it was, she ended up
Right.
winning by 8 seconds or whatever. So.
Yeah.
So part of me is kind of like, well, because so then my husband was like, so this is what you want to do next year? And I was like, well, I'm sure it won't rain next year too.
Your odds. I don't think that it works that way with weather. It's just a sense that I get.
Really? What?
Yeah. Yeah. You got to roll the dice. So maybe you need to go back to your old coach and be like, well, how smart do I need to be?
How smart do I need to be?
to do well at this? What do I need to learn?
Yeah, that's a good question. So anyway, but I did watch a lot of that this past weekend. They do a really good job, and it is huge crowds, which is always just kind of crazy. How many 10,000 people go out
the
to like
photos
these tiny
look
towns?
amazing. Yeah, I can see like, yeah, I can also, it's also easy to see how a country like France that so much gets behind the Tour de France and the Tour de France Femme, also this like is a natural progression. Like they're a little bit more open to these like multiple hours, multiple days events and cheering on the athletes.
I will jokingly, this is an in the weeds comment, but Ironman bought like 40, whatever you said, 48, 49% minority share of UTMB. And a bunch, you and I follow a lot of the Ironman staff on like Instagram and stuff because we just like know them. The amount that they were sharing makes me be like, oh, so seems like you're having a lot more fun at this race
Right.
than at your
Than at-
Ironman races.
I mean, I could
It's
comment,
possible.
but I will not.
Yeah. So
But Kelly,
anyway,
also
so I
your-
watched that. Yeah.
Your Valkyries, your WNBA Valkyries, they are doing great, aren't they?
The Valkyries game, when we're recording this, I went last night. And Sara, oh my God. So they had all these technical difficulties. I don't know if anybody watched it on TV, but they kept having a delay of game because the shot clock was broken.
Oh,
And so literally, yeah. So first it was just like a 20 or 30 minute, like, we're just going to like dance with the DJ while they fix the shot. And then and then there was like another delay of game. And there was like, and it became like, we're just going to have a concert. And sometimes they'll play basketball. Like, it was so weird. No idea
that's
what happened.
amazing. It was like a dance party. Were people dancing in the stands?
Yeah.
Like you were dancing, you were there, like
Well, I was not, but many people were. And it was,
right.
it's very weird because we talked this, that stadium is like a very new, very modern, large state. Like, this is not like we're playing at a community college. This is like a large, big, real professional sports stadium. So I don't know what was going on, but it took an hour 40 to get through the first half.
Right.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I kind of love this dancing thing. Like, I kind of wish I had been there. I feel like I would have made the most of that situation.
You would have made the most, yeah. Well, so my husband had come and he hadn't been to one of these games yet. And he was like, the crowd here is a lot more friendly. If this happened at like an NBA game, there would be fights. And I was like, yeah,
Right.
probably. So
Yeah, I never
it was
thought
pretty
about
fun,
that.
though.
Yeah, there's probably no fights, just children dancing.
Basically, yeah. Basically, pretty much. They also tried to do baby races at halftime for the first time. And as someone who has a 6-month-old, they wildly misjudged the age they needed because these babies were not able to crawl.
Can we
They
just,
were
yeah,
like-
let's talk about this because they did the same thing at the WNBA game I was at, the one in Vancouver, right? Where they had the crawl off, which sounds cute on paper. It sounds like a good idea. They had these babies and people were cheering, but like literally one baby crawled. They had like 9 or something. Like one crawled at the last minute. One of them like sort of crawled, but there was just like a clear like one dude could crawl and everybody else could not.
They
And
clearly
it was
picked
very
babies
weird.
that were too young. They like very obviously like none of these babies all just like sat there, and then eventually they had to like move the finish line like way close, like 4 feet away because it was just like not happening. And it was like, did you guys not pick babies under
You
the
didn't
right
vet
age.
your, they
Like,
did not, they
you
need
didn't
to
vet
like,
your babies.
when they went out, when they sent the recruiters out to vet the babies, like the recruiters did not know what to look for, what qualities to look for a good crawler, right? Which
That's what I'm
seems
saying,
like,
yeah.
I don't know, it seems as simple as identifying age within a bracket and asking the parents, because presumably they had to ask the parents anyway permission to be in the crawl off. So there was probably an opportunity to be like, oh, by the way, my baby can't crawl.
By the way.
Or maybe the parents are like, well, we saw him crawl once or her crawl once.
Yeah.
So
I'm
she'll
sure
be
they'll
fine.
be able to do it. Yeah. So it was entertaining. But in the sports part of the dance party.
During the sports part of the dance party crawl off.
Yes. The dance party. The Valkyries did win, which was good. And they beat the Fever, Indiana, who are both like kind of on the edge of making the playoffs. So I think the Valkyries should make the playoffs. But Caitlin Clark still wasn't playing because she's still injured.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this injury thing is a goddamn epidemic. Like, I have not been... I've been aware there's been a lot of injuries, but there are people who've been tracking, like they have WNBA injury trackers, and it is up crazy high this year. There's been so many injuries. And if you go down like why this is, it's like pretty clear that they're playing more games, right? Well, okay, like there's probably multiple factors, but in the last 4 years, they've gone from 32 games in a season to 44 games in a season without longer seasons and without more players on a team.
Right.
So it's like, by math, you're getting less days in between.
Yeah.
And so they're just like, I mean, they will all, like, the players all think that's like very clear that's the problem. Like, they're just overstressing. There's more flights. There's fewer days recovery. There's...
Right. And I would also ask, like, how quickly some of the recovery support has caught up, right? In terms of, like, because we know the WNBA is making more money now. So is more of that money going into things like that for the players, like recovery aspects, like massage and physio and all of this stuff? Like, did they always have a full suite of that? Or are there ways that they can improve or have?
Yeah, I mean, because it's also happening, not at actually the same degree, but similarly in like soccer and like some of these other and I was talking to one of our other colleagues about how for sure it's multifaceted, but there's definitely an aspect where like the amount of games and the play and has skyrocketed, but the funnel of like development and support and injury prevention has not gone at the same rate.
Right.
And that just catches up. Like it's not like one particular person is going to be injured necessarily because they didn't, have all that, but it catches up to the whole league.
Yeah.
To all the players.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we hope we see Caitlin Clark back soon.
Yeah, she also, I don't know if you've watched a game where she is not playing, but she basically just like acts like an assistant coach. She's like out on the court yelling at people, like directing things. And you're like, okay.
I've seen clips of that on Instagram, but I haven't like seen it live. And I'm still waiting for you to invite me to a Valkyries game. To
a Valkyries game? Well, now they're going to make the playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my invite. So
I think they're also playing longer. I think the playoffs are going to be best of 7 this year when they get longer. So they're just adding more and more, which is like understandable. But yeah, they need more players. They need more rest days.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, what sports did you watch though?
Well, I watched a bit of the rugby because Canada. Well, I went back and like watched part of the game after I saw on Instagram that like Canada beat Wales. Rugby definitely. It pretty much summarizes this game of Canada versus Wales. Rugby beat Wales 42-0.
Oh no.
And so, but like, okay, I'm going to give my super like uneducated rugby commentary. Right?
Okay, go. Ready?
Where like, okay, it seems to me now I've like I lived in the UK for most of my 20s and early 30s, right? So like I've heard a lot of like rugby commentary like going on in televisions that are being viewed not by me in the other room during Christmas dinner. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of like rugby culture around me without like really understanding the sport. I've been to rugby games without really understanding the sport. And so like just like paying attention and watching this, it's so cool. Like how, first of all, I can see where Liv, who you talked to last week on the podcast, was like, it's such a beautiful game. I love it so much. And I was completely vibing that when I was watching this. Because there's certain tries that are literally like you wrestle the ball from person to person. Like someone has the ball, they get tackled. They wrestle it out from under them. Someone else gets the ball. They get tackled.
Right.
They like, and literally, Canada had a number of tries that were like 6 or 7 of these passes, quote unquote, but that are really just you're being tackled and then trying to shove the ball out from under you to the right player that's actually on your team, right? And then you have this other like beautiful. This is my ode to rugby right now. Then you have these other like beautiful tries where like someone's wide open and they run and they like dodge. They're running and they like dodge. That's how I picture rugby. Like they're dodging everyone trying to tackle them and they get across the line. So I feel like Canada had just like such a great combination of these beautiful kinds of tries. The other thing that I noticed, sorry, that was my uneducated rugby
it
commentator.
Looked beautiful.
It looked beautiful,
running
people.
And passing.
Yeah, this is my everybody should watch rugby now pitch.
Okay.
And then also like the commentators, the other thing, I watched half of the game before I realized that I was watching commentators who were rugby commentators who sounded like the voices that I was used to hearing when I lived in the UK all the time, like the usual, that were like, and I shouldn't be surprised by this, like we shouldn't give people accolades for not saying stupid shit while covering women's sports. But like, actually, it was quite cool. You know, like they just were covering the game the way the men's game is, the way I've witnessed the men's game being covered many times before. And I thought about like, remember like when they, in the Tour de France Femme, when Peacock put like Phil Leggett in for the last couple days, who's like Phil Leggett, for those who don't know, is like a legendary old school commentator. Yes. Like he's the guy you think of when you think of Tour de France men's commentators, right? And he didn't know the women riders. He didn't know their skill sets. He didn't know who their coaches were. Like he was making all of these blunders all through the entire, and a lot of people afterwards were saying like, why did they pick him? So as far as I could tell, these rugby commentators knew their facts, were covering it like a real sport. So I'm like, yes, good. Like, didn't leave it to, honestly, like that feels very like British to me.
Oh,
you know?
I feel like soccer gets that because I've watched a lot of soccer on TV.
Yeah.
Women's. And yeah, for sure it's like that. I told you when I had a media pass to the Valkyries game and everybody's like, they're bringing me like box sheets, scores, and everyone's asking like these very detailed basketball questions.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
It feels like along the same vibe as my rugby comments just now.
So for sure there's more and more and more coverage and commentary that like really knows this.
Yeah, I was just very impressed by how they were handling this in Manchester. So yes, and I thought back to like Liv's comments last week about like it feels like of playing in the UK, like it feels like it's made for rugby.
Right.
And I sort of had that feeling about watching the coverage too. Like, oh, it feels like this is made for rugby.
I don't think the US is going to get out, though, of the pool play, right? They lost very handily to England.
Oh, I wasn't even
You weren't even.
Sorry to the. I was
You
just
weren't even paying
go
attention.
Canada all the way.
Okay. Well, they lost handily to England.
What was the score? Do you know?
69-7.
Oof. Okay, that's equally as bad as 42-0.
And then I think they tied Australia. So yeah, they're not like yeah, I think that there's one more game left in pool play because everyone has 3 games in pool play and then you make it out. So I'm rooting for the US to pull this off, but I think they have to win their last game.
Okay. Okay, I can give them a little rooting too.
Okay.
A sub-root.
Sub-root. A mini root.
A mini root for the US. You guys need
I think everyone thinks it's going to be Canada versus England in the end. So
right.
So
It'd be so good.
it'd be so good.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard. I get, like we talked about 2 weeks ago with Liv and 15s versus 7s rugby and like why these tournaments in 15s have to take so long because you need the recovery, but I am like, man, it's hard 6 weeks is a long time to
be focused on something.
Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely agree.
So part of me sort of like, I feel like I'm going to like focus back in after the US makes it out of pool play.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
that was kind of low-key my plan too until like everyone was talking about this Canada-Wales game on the gram, and then I had to go check it out.
Oh, on the gram. on the gram. I've also been watching a lot of, on the gram, I've been seeing a lot of pictures from the US Open, because I feel like, okay, the US Open's been around forever, right? It's one of the Grand Slams, right? But it's very trendy now. Like, all my friends in New York are going, right?
Oh,
like, it's very hot.
Okay.
And then there's been a lot of talk about, like, fashion and sports is like a big thing these days, right? Like, sports influencing fashion, like there's a whole Vogue spread about it.
I think that's I feel like that's a women's sports influence.
Yeah.
Too. Like that we're like bringing a different culture.
So now it's like, so now the US Open is all like a big thing, and people are like, I mean, it's always been a big thing. But I'm saying it's very like cool, trendy.
Yes. Okay.
Exciting.
Can I tell you, I thought about this. Sorry, I'm interrupting you, but when I went to Dubai to the Open, when I lived in Dubai, we could get tickets to anything and stand in like, I was standing like right beside the barriers when with Tiger Woods playing golf. We had like front row seats behind again, sorry, I don't know the terms, but like behind the court where like when Serena Williams like walked on, right? And this goes back. This is like at least 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. But I remember being like, oh, like seeing the details of how it was like right when she first started to kind of really play the fashion card, like all the bling, she came out with her matching. She had this handbag that was like insane, just walked out as if she's on a runway and with all the swag like you can possibly imagine. And I just was like, oh my God. Like I just had never seen anyone like so dripping. Right. So yeah, anyway. Continue.
So I think that's the thing. Well, I'm just saying, I think that's like the whole, like,
I think she started it.
Now. Yeah.
Serena started it.
The US Open's also, they were like doing a whole honoring Althea Gibson, and part of their theme is like Black women who have paved the way in tennis, and particularly in US tennis and in the US Open. Yeah.
So I maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I interviewed a woman called Ashley. I'll stick it in the show notes. Who wrote Althea Gibson's biography, or I guess probably most recent biography, and the way that, honestly, it's quite an amazing interview. People should go back and listen to it, because I learned so much about Althea Gibson and her attitude towards sports and life through this biography. But essentially, like, she also, like, after she was the first African-American to win Wimbledon, the French Open, and the US Open. And then after her tennis career was over, she just went and decided to play for the LPGA and like just took up golf and became like nice. Also an elite golfer, right? She also had like her music published. Like, oh, good. She was a successful musician, and she also did some, like, she like worked in political arena too. It's been a couple years since but this woman was amazing, and like basically spoke into a void of African-American voices in a way that like people sat up and listened. So yeah,
I do also feel like sports are a different era. You know what I mean? Like, you hear about like Babe Didrikson too, right? Where they're like, oh, I played baseball and tennis and I golfed and I ran. Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay. Cool.
True. It is. But still, it's amazing.
It is. Yeah.
Like, can you imagine?
There's also been a bunch of controversy. I mean, obviously tennis always is controversy, but on this topic, because Taylor Townsend lost a match to Jelena Ostapenko, is that right? Who I can't remember what country she's from, but it's it's like an Eastern European country. And then there was like, arguing at the end, and Jelena said some things. Oh, they called her uneducated, and that she didn't have class. Mm-hmm. And then obviously everyone's like, that's very racial. Mm-hmm. And that's like pretty racist. And, I will say it was really shitty. I do think English as a second language, she probably, like, that's like, if an American said that, they know like what that,
well, especially in
sounds
tennis,
like.
Right. Like they know, yes, there might be, to give her a little.
I do think English as a second language, you don't always know all the idioms and like inferences. But obviously it also was like a shitty thing. Like, it's like, you lost, just get over it. You lost. Because part of her whole thing was that like, you have no class, because she didn't like apologize for like the ball hitting the top of the net, which is apparently like an unspoken rule. You're supposed to be like, oh, sorry.
Oh. Supposed to say, oh, sorry.
Well, you're like supposed to put your hand up or whatever, right? Like, oh yeah, I see. Like,
my bad.
My bad. Like, because I was so confused about this because I was like, wait, she didn't apologize for a net cord point. What is that? So then I had to go down this hole of like, what is tennis? And then I was like, tennis is so weird that like they have all these unspoken rules, you know?
Yeah. I'd be there with my foot in my mouth for sure.
There was something else where like Simone Biles was at the Open because, you know, it's the trendy thing to do. And she like wanted to cheer for, I want to say Coco Gauff. But then you're like not supposed to cheer. So she was like, right? Like there's all kinds of rules where you're like, okay.
Yeah.
So I do feel like tennis might not be my sport.
Same. I was telling someone when I did that triathlon really a few weeks ago. I was telling someone that it's like in our triathlon culture amongst the pros that like when you pass someone, you say kind of like good job.
Yeah, you're like
a little. That's kind of like in the culture of at least the pro level of triathlon. I mean, once the age groupers are out there and there's hundreds of people, you're maybe not wasting your energy on that. But so then when I did the relay, I felt like I had to say like good job to everybody, and then because I was in a relay. And somebody was like, people kept saying, oh, good running. And I felt like I had to tell them I was in a relay.
Right. You're like, oh.
Yeah. So they laughed at me because it's like so weirdly apologetic to be like,
oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'm not really in your race. Sorry for being here. My bad. My bad for overtaking you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like that might be weird.
It's weird.
And it might be changing a little bit. Though it is funny because there was, to your point, one of the pro women was like, I don't like cheer on the other people while I'm out there. Like I'm trying to beat them. That's weird. And people were like, she's a bitch. And so you're like...
Yeah. It takes a while for things like this to change. I mean, how long did it take for us to get to the place where women didn't have to wear white in tennis? You know what I mean? Like, so...
Isn't there one tournament where they still all wear white? I feel like probably a rule, an unspoken rule.
A rule that you and I will never figure out.
Yeah. So anyway, that's been interesting. I've been watching it on the gram. I don't watch that much tennis in real life, but I've been watching it on the gram. The volleys. So the volleys.
Deep tennis knowledge.
Well, I'm also a big Trinity Rodman, the soccer player, is dating a tennis player, and they let her into the press conference, and she was like heckling him. So I also found that entertaining.
That is entertaining. You're just there to see what the media and the fans do, to watch the crowd shots and see who's there. Okay.
Yes.
I respect
that. Is my favorite part of basketball, the Valkyries games too, is the part where they show all the celebrities that have come to the game.
Like who's there is the thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
So it's very exciting. All right. Did we watch any other sports? Did we do any other sports this week, Sarah? I mean, you're always doing your CrossFit, but...
I did not do CrossFit this week. I have been on many trail runs. I ran up a mountain yesterday for the first time in a long time. So that was... Yeah, I'm going to pat myself on the back.
Good job, you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, then our main thing today was I did talk to Madison Fulford, one of the U.S. team's pro flag football players. I was about to say pro, but as she tells us, they all have other jobs still because it's not really like there are some pro leagues down in Mexico, but there aren't really here yet. And she just came back from the World Games, which, you know how we were like, what is the World Games? It was a big deal. It is a big deal for these sports where like it is their Olympics for the sports that don't have the Olympics yet.
Right.
So
I now know that because of our podcast.
So they lost to Mexico, but they're looking to take their revenge because it is the America's Cup in 2 weeks, a week and a half. So anyway, we talked to her a little bit about the growth of flag football. All right, I'm here with Maddie Fulford, just back from the World Games, where you guys took silver in flag football. How was that? Was there crowds? Was it fun?
Yeah, the atmosphere was incredible. The Chinese fan base, they loved us. They'd stay after and get pictures with us, autographs, whatever it took. They packed the stands, and it was a really cool time.
Oh, that's fun. Was it like a whole tournament, like a 2-week tournament there? How many games did you end up playing?
Yeah, so it was spread around 3 or 4 days. We played our pool. So once you make it out of your pool, then they set up the bracket play based off of how you did in your pool. But yeah, we made it all the way to the gold medal game. We came up short, but it was a really good game.
Mexico won last time too, right? I didn't realize that Mexico was like flag football champions, but apparently they are.
Yeah, so they won in 2022 at the World Games. Then we won the America's Cup. Then we won the Flag World Games, and then we lost this one. So it was pretty heartbreaking because we wanted that revenge. But
right. Yeah. That's right. LA 2028. You got your eyes.
Yeah, that's what it really counts for sure.
So I understand that you were a track and field athlete, and then you kind of just started playing flag football for fun when you were in the Air Force, like on the base and stuff. And then you get recruited, right? It's like, which sounds crazy. How does one get recruited? It feels very like someone saw you at a mall and you can be a model type thing. Like, did you believe them? Like, were you just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, so they have a more thorough process now that is more legitimate and stuff. But this was like the start of all of that and start of their actual trials process and training camps. But it was like 6 months into me playing. This was a tournament in DC, and I'm in the middle of the game, and all of a sudden, like, I'm doing really well, and I look over the sideline, and there's like 6 people in like USA gear, and I was like, oh, like, this is cool. Like, this, they're probably gonna talk to me, whatever. So then I get pulled, and they're like, hey, like, we want you to come try out, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make the team. I told them that right then, and I was definitely pretty cocky when I came into the sport. But yeah, it was funny.
Did you play flag football like growing up? Did you just pick it up as an adult?
No, I wanted to play when I was younger, but my mom wouldn't let me because there were no other girls playing. It's not like how it is now where you see like these little 6-year-olds running around.
Right.
She thought it was dangerous. It's a boys' sport, you know, the typical thing that you see like in the suburbs and stuff. But I always loved the game. I grew up a Carolina Panthers fan and just wanted to be around football no matter what. But it wasn't until we were on base where they had like a co-ed thing going on, which there's still only 1 or 2 girls playing at that. But yeah, that was in 2022.
And now, like, when you say you were recruited, you mean to the national team, or because now there's pro leagues too? Like, explain to us like how one makes a living in flag football now.
Yeah, so the only pro league right now is in Mexico. So I got paid when I played in Mexico, but it was only for that tournament. There's not a legitimate setup of like athletes getting paid a salary to play football right now. I know there's stuff in the works, potentially with the NFL and some other organizations, but right now, no, we all still have our own jobs. We figure out how to incorporate training into our everyday lives. So it is tough, but it's doable.
So the national team is just kind of like the national team for the World Games or for the Flag World Games. I'm going to say that wrong, but that's right. What you guys just compete for, right?
Yes. So they have the international competition. So we represent the United States. So they select 60 girls around the country to come and try out. So that's the part where I got recruited at, was they want me to come try out here. And then from that process, they bring it down to 18, which then reduces to 12. And 12 is the active roster that travels.
And how often do you guys practice together? How much do you I assume you train every day around your other jobs. So.
Yeah. So as individuals, we do our own training on our own. Sometimes we'll link up in San Antonio because that's where our main trainer is. That's where me and Ashley Edwards like started training, was down there together. But thankfully there's like 6 of us in Texas, so it's not too bad. But yeah, so in regards to team training, we only get like 2 or 3 training camps a year. I know they're working to make it more, especially as we get closer to the Olympics, but we only get together as a group like 2 or 3 times, and then we go play at an international competition.
You mentioned obviously it's like booming. Now you see like girls, like I see girls at the park here. How much has it grown? I mean, you said that was 2022. That's only 3 years ago. How much has it grown just in the last few years? It's
booming. The fact that it's getting into the high school sports now, like as a varsity sport, I think it's incredible. We still have so much more to go, but it's in the right direction, and the eyes are starting to surround the sport a lot more. And so I think with more girls showing interest and then even just trying the sport, they fall in love with it. They quit playing the sports they were playing before to get more involved with flag. And it's a super inclusive, fun sport to play.
What makes it, like, what's so appealing about it? And what makes it different than, tackle? Like,
yeah. So you can be any shape, size, speed to play flag football. At an elite level, it takes a lot of training and you have to hone in certain skills, of course. But overall, starting out to play in your backyard, you don't have to be or look like anything. And I think that's what makes it really inclusive and fun. And then what was your other question, part of that?
Oh, well, how does it differ? Because I've watched, like, It's not just like, oh, we took tackle and like stuck flags on his head. It's very different in a lot of ways.
Yes. So that's the biggest misconception that we're fighting right now is, battling, trying to separate ourselves from tackle, because a lot of people compare it and they're two different sports. And I think that's where the support is going to come from, is like understanding that it's not tackle, it's its own entity, and you just need to like it for what it is and the game that it is, if that makes sense.
What makes it so different? Like, obviously you need to be like a little more agile, a little faster.
Yeah, I would say the rules are a lot different. The style of play is different. The speed of the game is a lot faster. And the fields are a lot smaller. The quarterback has tighter windows to throw because the field's so much smaller. And obviously you can't touch each other. Like, incidental contact will happen, but overall you can't like go out and just hit somebody. so
like the thing that most parents, like you said, like your mom was worried about, the thing most parents are worried about is obviously concussions, tackle, like all the injuries. And that just doesn't happen at the same, like it's more like a soccer level, or it's
more of like an incidental level for sure. I mean, they're not going in putting their heads first and stuff. It does happen for sure, and that's why I wear a headgear, but overall it's not like as common.
Okay. And all those rules you just mentioned, so is that what's going to be played in the Olympics, right? It's co-ed in the Olympics. It's what? No, I thought it was co-ed.
Oh, okay. No. It's an all women's team.
Oh, but there's a men's team too.
There's a men's team also.
Okay, that's what was confusing me. Got it. All right, so there's two sets. So there's a women's team and a men's team. What are the sizes? How big are the teams?
Yeah, so it's 5v5. We usually have a set offense and a set defense, which comprise of 10 players. But we do have an extra 2 right now, which will be an extra offensive player or defensive player. But the Olympics, you're only allowed 10. So it's going to make it even smaller and a lot harder to make the team. So you have to be a dog in all facets of the game.
Got it. All right. So it's a smaller field, faster, smaller teams. What else should people know about, LA2028? How many teams are there making it? It's going to be like
it's either top 6 in the world or top 8. I know the games in Germany next year are going to decide what teams are in LA.
Okay. So when you found out that this was like, the sport that you'd randomly picked up as an adult was going to be in the Olympics, I mean, what did you think? Were you just like, that's crazy?
It was insane. I always grew up around sports, so I was like, I want to be an Olympian. And when I went through college, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not fast enough. Those girls are insane. But I've always had that drive and desire and dream to be an Olympian. And so now that the fact that it's actually here and it's up to me to make it there now, like I have the resources, I have everything I need, just making sure I'm staying at the top of my game. It's unreal. I'm really just excited to add the tattoo of it.
Sure. I mean, you got to get the tattoo.
For sure.
So what do you, between now and 2028, like what does the flag football schedule look like? Like you mentioned, there are qualifying games in Germany. You obviously all keep training. Like what's on the agenda between now and then?
Yeah. So it's unfortunate that we lost a couple weeks ago, but in 2 weeks, we actually do get to face them again for the America's Cup. So we will be looking to get our revenge. And the top 3 countries in the world are us, Mexico, and Canada, and we are all in the same tournament. So it is definitely a juggernaut to play over here, but we have that coming up, which is in Panama. And then that's the end of our competition series for this year. Next year is Germany for the IFAF World Games, which is for flag football only. And then after that will be another America's Cup, which I don't know how much that will matter or what's going on really with that. But then LA is probably the big picture. So,
got it. Okay. So I was gonna say, so it's Mexico, us, and Canada are like the contenders
for sure.
Okay. And how do people watch? Like, if they want to follow, like, they're hearing more and more about this, they want to see it. I've been watching clips on social, and it's crazy. But how do I watch, full games, broadcast?
So for the one in Panama, it's going to be through the IFAF media page. We don't really know until it's like a little bit closer, and then we post it on our socials. So the World Games, we posted it everywhere. I know probably in the next year or two, it should be like on bigger networks, so it's more accessible and getting more eyes on it. And then the Olympics will be on the Olympics channel.
Sure. And if people want to, like I was saying to you before we got on, like I'm seeing, signs for high school players here, and it's like growing. If if I just want to play, like how can people get started playing? Like, are there adult leagues? Is this a thing? Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of adult leagues. So even a quick search on Facebook or Google, you can type adult flag football and it'll show you USA flag, USA football if you're looking for the national team. But those are like pretty big areas. Once you go into there, you'll find all the little ones. And there's a lot of like local stuff too. If you just type in on Google, I didn't even know how accessible it was until I saw it one day and I was like, oh wait, there's like thousands of people playing this. Like, this is cool.
What's your favorite part about it? Like, I'm like, you're starting to sell me, but now I'm like curious. What's the best part about flag?
So my motto is run fast, catch ball. And that's just what gets me excited. I like to be the deep ball person. So when you see the highlights of like NFL players catching like a really far pass, like running past everybody, and just how electric that feels. And it's super exciting. And that's my favorite thing to do. I'm more of the deep ball girl. I think track and field helped me out with my speed for that one. But scoring touchdowns and celebrating with my teammates, there's nothing like that adrenaline rush. It's so fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for chatting with us, and good luck at the America's Cup. You guys should beat Mexico.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. I don't want to jinx nothing. We can talk about it.
Hey Feisties, CEO Sara Gross here. I just want to tell you about my favorite product for muscle strength and recovery, which has also become a favorite among my friends at CrossFit and hip hop. It is Prevenex's Muscle Health Plus. I started using Muscle Health Plus during my lifting sessions, and it helped my power, speed, and I've even put on a little bit of muscle, which has typically been really hard for me. We know that maintaining and even increasing muscle mass is one of the best things we can do for ourselves as we age, and Muscle Health is one of the best products on the market to support that goal. Muscle Health contains 5 grams of creatine, which is the recommended dose, but it also contains branched chain amino acids and essential amino acids, HMB, estrogen, all of which are shown to increase muscle growth, recovery, and strength. It's a convenient, all-in-one formula that goes way beyond creatine alone. Unlike most supplement brands, Prevenex tests everything with pharmaceutical-grade precision, and they offer a 100% money-back guarantee. So, join me in letting Muscle Health Plus help you achieve your strength training goals and get 15% off your first order with the code TheFeistPod at Prevenex.com. That's TheFeistPod, the Feist Pod, for 15% off at Prevenex.com. And the link will be in the show notes. Regular listeners of Feisty podcasts will not be surprised to learn that for decades, running shoes have been researched, tested, and designed for men. Brands have relied on the shrink it and pink it approach to sell male shoes to female customers. But women's feet differ from men's in numerous ways. We have increased toe splay, higher arches, a more narrow heel, a lower ankle bone, upward angled toenails, and a rounded instep that is smaller in circumference. And because of all those differences, that is why we need HEDAs. HEDAs has unlocked the science behind women's biomechanics through dedicated research and creates running shoes specifically designed for women. So that means a lower heel collar to reduce rubbing on women's ankle bones, plate design to provide heel stability and to decelerate foot impact, rounded instep creating a snug fit through the middle to match the curvature of a woman's foot. Every feature is designed to give you more power and less problems. Breathability that lets your feet breathe easily mile after mile, plus fast-drying tech that doesn't allow sweat to slow you down, adaptive stretch that molds to your foot like it was made just for you. I personally have been running in HEDAs for over 2 years, and from the first time I tried them, I knew that there was something different. They really felt like they were made for me. The shoes are super light but provide good cushioning, and they really support my very high arches. I honestly didn't think I would notice the difference after running for so many years in male model shoes, but I really did. So, try HEDAs for yourself today. Go to hedas.com and use the code STAYFEISTY for 20% off. That is Stay Feisty for 20% off at heddas.com. The link will, as always, be in the show notes.
So I think it's kind of funny that she was basically just discovered.
Okay, that's what I was going to say too, because now it's become a bit of a podcast joke that like you want to be like discovered and recruited.
Yes.
For a sport, and that happened to her. So I think what you should do is put yourself into spaces where, like with flag football around, where you could possibly be like recruited. I feel like this is the door has opened, Kelly.
In all fairness, she was just like playing and didn't know it was like a thing that they could recruit for. And then because of this whole like it's taking off and they were, but now they aren't, that's not how it works, right? Like nobody's like trolling the mall looking for future models. That's not how it works.
That's like literally your dream. Like when you turn around, you're like, what? Who, me? I'll consider it.
Now it's getting like so much more official though, flag football, because of the whole Olympics thing, because of the fact it's going to be in the Olympics and because it's booming. And I realized part of the reason that I was confused about whether it being co-ed in the Olympics, and this is like, maybe this is, if you're not American, like this is, but they've been talking a ton here in the US about the NFL players who are going to play. So I had been like, oh, it's co-ed, but there's actually just a men's team and a women's team.
Right.
And apparently, though, the NFL players, like, they've been talking a lot about it because it's like a draw, right? It's big names, but it's a totally different game. And I guess they're going to have a hard time because they're going to want to tackle and they're going to get all these penalties. And it's just like, it's actually very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that just feels like a media play to include NFL players.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of aware, too, that I think there is a lot of co-ed flag though, just like in general on the ground. Like when we used to partner with Compete Sports, like an LGBTQ organization, you know, that was like flag was kind of a big sport for folks who like didn't necessarily want to lead with a gender identity. So you could just like anybody could play. Right. So that, yeah. So I was kind of aware of that inclusive factor about flag too.
And I mean, I'm sure, there's still a lot of co-ed, but it's also definitely booming as a girls sport. Like all the high schools here have added girls flag football. It's like it's on the track for NCAA, and I kind of expect it to leapfrog triathlon to become the next NCAA sport. Because there's like these different, this is a thing we can go in the weeds at some point, but there's these different tracks for NCAA sports and different sports are in different spots in that pipeline, and wrestling went through it very quickly, and then flag has just started, and I kind of expect it to go through the pipeline very quickly.
Yeah,
so
I would think.
So,
okay, here's my question for you, Kelly, because in previous episodes, you have made it sound like flag is like some kind of NFL propaganda wheel.
It is.
Which, like, yes, I believe you, and like, how did we get to they can't be just that, because how did we get to the point where there's enough there's enough countries internationally, because there's certain standards to be included in the Olympics. You have to have numbers of countries, you have to have men and women from those countries playing. Like, how are there enough competitive people in enough countries to play essentially what I associate as like an American, or at least a North American sport?
You do have to have certain standards. All right, we're going to do a quick in the weeds with how you become an Olympic sport. Okay. So there's a way things become an Olympic sport. There's like a committee that writes recommendations, and they make recommendations to like the different board, and then they decide. However, the organizing committee of a game, so like LA2028 or Paris, gets a certain amount of say and gets to pick a couple of sports that they and so Paris went with like breakdancing, for example, because they were trying to do like their whole like youth art vibe thing, and LA picked flag. I don't think flag would have been picked if like the Olympics weren't going to be in the US, if they, like LA got say and they went with that. Does that make sense? So like, I kind of don't actually think it's going to stay in the Olympics. I don't think it's going to be in Australia in 32. Like, I don't expect it to. Does that make sense?
Okay, yes.
So there's an amount where like, and I think and this is a relatively recent thing where the organizing committee gets a little bit of say on a couple of like, they're not exhibition sports, but a couple of like new sports events. And I only went down this hole recently because there's been this debate about whether or not they're going to add a new triathlon thing, and they are not. Like, it's not going to happen. But the organizing committee does get to pick a few things. They also picked, I don't remember, like sprint canoe or something. Like, there's a couple other things. And for LA, the focus was on team sports.
Okay.
On gender
Makes
diversity.
sense. Yeah.
Yes, there was like team sports, gender diversity, like youth things, like things that the youth are doing. So there's certain like criteria that everybody wants to like emphasize. So that was why they went with flag, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I think you also, as you've been aware, when there is something that's like in a pipeline, like that it's being considered for Olympic contention, there's a whole kind of like movement behind it then that is going out and finding people in malls, but
and
like going out
people.
And
Kelly, just
people.
go stand on the street and run around.
Right. So there's like a whole, so then it's like there's a whole grassroots like system out there that's like recruiting people and setting up programs and getting out. And I think there is a combo of like some of that was astroturfed by the NFL for sure. And then some of it's like they also are capitalizing on like girls wanted to play football and like we're not given that opportunity and the moment that's happening. And it's kind of like combo. But it is, the NFL had a problem, right? And if you go and you just look at like 5 years ago, they were like very, very concerned that like NFL was dying, viewership was down, they didn't have young people, parents didn't want their kids to play anymore. And combo of Taylor Swift and flag and like viewership's going up and people are loving it again, you know? It's so true.
It's like the stars are aligning for football across the board right now.
So I think an interesting question will be if it maintains this momentum.
Oh, don't forget the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
I was watching the second season of that yesterday.
I watched it.
Side point, really cracks me up when the lead woman who whole first season, like the woman who runs it, you know, runs the cheerleaders, whole first season, she says lots of very pointed things to people, right? Like, oh, well, you'll look great, honey, after you lose a couple pounds, right? Like, like very pointed. And the very first episode of the season, she says, I promised myself, if I see something, I'm going to say something. I'm not going to keep it inside anymore. And you're like, was that a problem?
Yeah.
So football's having a moment.
It is indeed.
But like she said, they are going to America's Cup next. And like you kind of inferred here, best teams in the world are Canada, Mexico, and US. Like it is still a very North American sport. So America's Cup is actually very competitive.
Right.
And that is next weekend, 12th to the 14th in Panama.
Okay.
And they lost to Mexico, but apparently they didn't play that well. So
the
they're
US
really
lost to Mexico because Mexico's the current won the world
games.
Yeah. Okay. Mexico. Who saw it coming? I mean,
they apparently also have like a pro league there, you know?
Oh, well, that kind of explains it. I mean, who saw it coming is basically probably most people who actually know anything about flag football. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and here's my thing though. Ready? This was our actual planned In the Weeds with Kelly and Sara. Not
In the Weeds with Kelly and Sara.
All right. So, you know, I love the Olympics. Super big fan.
I am aware of that.
I'm aware, right? A super big fan of like U.S. Olympics. Was very excited about all this. I think, and I recognize that this is not a popular topic, but I think that it is time that we discuss whether or not the Olympics should actually happen in LA or if they should be canceled or moved. I think they should probably be moved.
Right. So as someone who lives in LA, or not in LA, in California yourself, and who is kind of close to the political conversation, why do you think it should be canceled?
So I think it has, if we're going to go historical, because that's like, I think it's getting to have a little bit 1936 vibes, right? Which is widely acknowledged now as a Olympics that the Third Reich used in Berlin to project a better image out in the world, to use as a propaganda, to do all kinds of, right? So, and that then actually you can pretty much connect these dots. Slowed international intervention in Germany for at least a few more years because it's like, well, the Olympics, like they looked so good, and it was just kind of a platform for something that was like happening that was really, really bad. And I think if you separate emotion from, because people get very emotional, right? If you're like, hey, the US is like descending into authoritarianism.
Yeah.
If you separate it from emotion and you just like look up the definition of what is an authoritarian or fascist regime, and you go down that checklist, those things are, they're not like maybe they're happening. They've already happened. People are being thrown into vans. People are being targeted for political opinions. We're using the military in cities, like tanks are rolling down DC, right? Like this is already happening. So I think we have to acknowledge that, and that it would be a very, like, learn from our mistakes would be a very bad move to give that regime a Olympic platform. Now, also, we are denying visas. We denied like a Venezuelan team coming for the Little League World Series. We denied a Senegal women's basketball team. We denied I'm losing another volleyball team. So like, there's no confidence that people are going to be able to come.
Yes.
You've heard stories about like even Canadian, not stories, like these are well documented in the news. Even Canadians coming over.
Tourists being stopped at the border or like detained for 15 hours and then like missed the flights anyway and can't come. Like the percentage of Canadians who are not allowed across the border has increased by like 4 or 5-fold.
And so I think will they promise that that's not going to happen for the Olympics? Sure. But like there's a reason like tourism's already super down in the US, like people don't want to come.
Yeah.
Then you have this added factor of it's in California Olympics. Like California is kind of at the forefront of pushing back against what's happening in the US. And that makes that very, very loaded because there have been concessions that have already, even before the past election, California knew they needed like we do not federally fund our Olympics in the US or like our Olympic athletes, right? It's all like privately funded and fundraised. But they needed certain federal protections for security. Like they need certain like security apparatuses to make sure it's a safe Olympics. So they had already kind of worked with, like that's why softball's in Oklahoma, because they wanted that senator's vote on security measures. Like that's the reality, right? And now that's being used, is being held up as like, well, California, if you don't do these things, like we're not going to, help with the Olympics, right? And I think that's also really problematic because it's like, well, I don't want the Olympics to be used to like force us to round up immigrants or whatever. Like there's a bunch of different random ass fucking things that are being used as kind of a...
Yes. And like one of these situations where like when it comes down to it, like the athletes should not be in the middle of a like political argument of any kind, right? Like the athletes should not be the ones who are like potentially going to be detained or trained for the remaining almost 3 years and then not be able to go to their games.
Yeah, because there's also the reality that you're going to have to confront that it might come down to like the IOC just has to like that we just like literally can't have it here in 3 years. Like we don't know what's going to happen. Which again, like if you separate emotion and you just look at like historical precedent and what's gone down when things have been similar, and that would be really shitty too. So
yeah.
Do I think it's going to happen though? No. I went down a whole hole, Sarah, on whether or not a city host place can pull out of the Olympics, and they cannot.
Yeah.
Like they are on the hook for damages.
In one of the articles that you sent, I read that too. Yeah. You can't, it has to come from the IOC, which we know that the IOC is not going to.
No, the IOC can pull out. The host place really can't, or they like contractually broke their obligation and like can be on the hook. Though like good luck getting money from them. But the IOC can, and the IOC has like these clauses that they can pull out for like civil unrest, war, disturbance, like inability to meet. But the reality, like you said, is like they haven't pulled out in a lot of other countries that also were far more authoritarian. One could even argue that the only places that want the Olympics these days are authoritarian regimes because it's hard to get it to happen. So it's not going to happen. Like the IOC is probably not.
Yeah.
But it's not a good.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
It's like hard to know where everything's going to be at in 3 years. Like that's the factor. I mean, 2.5 years, whatever. Like that's the kind of big X factor here is like what happens next.
And
shrug emoji.
And I think it's one of these things again where like if you separate out emotion and you're just like, look, like here's a list of issues, like things that are already happening here's things that have happened in other countries and what it led to. Here's, you know, like how it plays out everywhere else.
Yeah.
You're like, this is not good. Like, we shouldn't do this. So
100%. I like when I was reading the articles that you sent about this, so we can maybe link some of them, but like I thought about, because I've spent most of my high school years in the Middle East, and so a lot of my classmates had come from like war-torn countries where their parents had just been like, oh, I got a job near Dubai, I'm going. Right. And so I can remember having, and I don't know why I ended up in all these like deep and meaningful conversations with people, but somehow.
Because like teenagers,
it's part of my personality too. Yeah. Like, tell me your deepest sorrow. But like, I did have so many friends from different parts of the world who had like lived through wars as kids, who had seen that, like, and the way that an authoritarian regime takes over is like kind of exactly what we're seeing. Like, I think we need to be really, really mindful right now of what's going on.
That's what I mean. It's like when you go and you're like, how does this play out?
Yeah.
Like, show me the list of things. It's like, yep.
I can remember like a friend of mine, we were sitting in math class and he asked me what was wrong. And I was like, I just miss home. Like, I just want to go back home. And he just looked at me and was like, at least you have a home. And like, I remember like where he was from Lebanon. I remember like exactly where I was sitting. I remember like the smell of the room, because I was like so taken by this, like by exactly like what he said and went, oh, you know, or had like many friends, like I said earlier, like whose families had decided to leave. So yeah, anyway, so this is very like,
you know, I mean, I've been down this hole a lot lately, and I obviously you hope it doesn't come to that. But again, like if you just kind of look at historical precedent, it certainly could. And I think the Olympics should not be a platform then for that to
100%. There are also situations, and I've seen a lot of them, where something turns and changes, and
sure,
like it doesn't like necessarily go down a super dark path. Like there are lots of potential paths.
There are only a few at this point, but some of them are better than others. There's like 5 potential
paths that are better than others.
Better than others.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
But the IRC, I mean, they're not going to change. And I originally was very excited. Obviously, I am very excited about the LA Olympics, and it should be and it was really going to be a California Olympics because there's some stuff up here, and they were really like tapping into like West Coast artists and West Coast vibes. But West Coast vibes are weird these days. So.
Yeah.
All right, that was my in the weeds. In the weeds. I was like trying to think of a transition here. I got nothing.
There's no. It's like like you said in a different episode. It's like going from something that's like sad,
right,
and hard to think about into like, okay, pick of the week. Like, okay. Who's your favorite athlete this week, Kelly?
Yeah. All right. But we are going to finish off with today's episode with our feisty picks of the week. Did you have one?
I do. Yes. So my pick of the week is 10-year-old, the world's strongest 10-year-old, Sophie Bell.
Okay.
Okay. So I tried to find like how much she could, because she has like a powerlifting world record for 9-year-olds, and in powerlifting, like for when she was 9, 6 months ago,
back in the day.
In the day, yeah, way back. And so they like add up your bench and your deadlift and your squat. So I was like just very curious, and it was hard to find kind of like up-to-date information about what she's doing right now. But I did see her deadlift 250 pounds, which is like around the same as now I'm comparing myself to a 10-year-old,
yeah.
Which is like probably around the same as my deadlift. She squats way more than me, and I have her on the bench.
Solid.
But yeah, she was squatting like 225 in this one video, like insane. And I kind of like loved it. I see a lot of kids like lifting on Instagram, and it's just like this new landscape of little girls getting strong I just love it so much. So Yeah, there she is. Sophie Bell. Look her up on Instagram. She's the world's strongest 10-year-old.
Okay. All right. My pick was like other end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Emma Mazenga is this 92-year-old sprinter in Italy who has 4 or 5 age group world records. Like she can run at 250 seconds.
Wow.
That's a 92-year-old. Yeah. And they just did a big, like researchers just did a big case study of her to try and see like what we could learn about health and fitness and aging. They did like 4 different kind of older athletes, but yeah, there's this whole article about her, and it's super fascinating. That she still has like the mitochondria of someone much younger than her.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that from? Do they think that's because she continued to like develop new mitochondria? Like
so a lot of these like
or capillary density in her mitochondria or whatever it is.
I think you have to go and read the whole case study, but we'll
clearly
link it.
I do.
But they've done a few of these kind of case studies with like super older people who have like age group world records at 60, 70, 80. And it's definitely, there's something to like just continuing to do activity, especially different kinds, speed and strength and all that. A lot of them also, especially the women, started later. Like they started running in their 30s or 40s, which means that then they just had like less wear and tear. So it's super interesting. But yeah, you definitely want to keep doing stuff. That's what I've learned from all of these.
I feel like even observationally, like you can, when you're out for a ride and you have some like 70-year-old cyclist who can absolutely like drop the hammer on you, like how is this happening right now? And it's because they just didn't stop cycling. They literally like maintained their power more or less by continuing to do what they love. So
yeah, so you should keep it up. That's what I've learned from all of these. And also, I think I could take her in a 200, but like,
I do love how it always comes down to what you and I are doing.
Yeah.
We're waiting to be recruited. When we're 90, Kelly, someone's going to come out and recruit us to the national team.
If you can maintain it, yeah.
And then they're going to do a study and they're going to be like, look at her mitochondria.
So, all right. Next week, we are talking track and field because track and field world championships are coming up. But that's it for this week.
Amazing.